If you hear a ticking where there shouldn't be one, don't assume it's harmless. The sound came from deep inside the engine bay, faint, precise, wrong in a way most people would never notice. Evelyn Carter did. She stood still for half a second, rag in hand, grease smeared across her knuckles, eyes narrowing as the rhythm echoed through metal and frame. The customer leaned against the counter, impatient, scrolling his phone. "How long is this gonna take?" he muttered. Evelyn didn't answer. Her focus had already shifted somewhere else, somewhere far beyond the small-town garage off Route 9. She moved closer to the car, each step measured, quiet, like the space around her had suddenly changed shape. Tools clinked softly as she reached for a socket wrench, her grip steady, controlled. Most mechanics would have gone straight to the obvious problem. She didn't. Instead, she traced the sound, isolating it, mapping it in her head like coordinates. The ticking wasn't random. It was structured. Intentional. Her jaw tightened just slightly. The hood lifted with a soft creak. Warm air rolled out, carrying the scent of oil and metal. Beneath it, hidden deeper than any factory design, something didn't belong. She leaned in, brushing aside a cable harness with careful precision, revealing a thin black wire tucked where no civilian system should ever have one. Her fingers paused for the briefest moment, hovering. Not hesitation. Recognition. "Hey," the customer called out, louder this time. "You gonna fix it or what?" Evelyn exhaled slowly, almost silently. "I am," she said, her voice calm, even. But her eyes never left the wire. In her mind, the garage faded. The chatter, the sunlight through dusty windows, the distant hum of traffic, it all dimmed beneath a different memory. Training bays. Cold steel tables. Instructors who never raised their voices. She adjusted her stance without thinking, feet planted for balance, shoulders relaxed. Her hands moved with quiet certainty, reaching deeper into the engine, isolating the component piece by piece. Each motion was deliberate, efficient, almost too precise for someone who just fixed cars. The ticking grew louder now that she was close, sharper, counting something down she didn't need to see. She followed the line, uncovering more of the system, her expression unreadable. A simple mechanic wouldn't have known what this was. Wouldn't have recognized the pattern. Wouldn't have understood what it meant for everyone within 100 feet. Evelyn did. Outside, a distant rumble cut through the afternoon air. Tires against asphalt. Fast. Too fast for this quiet street. Her head tilted slightly, just enough to catch the sound. She didn't look up. Not yet. Her fingers tightened around a small connector, pausing again, calculating. The rumble grew louder, closer, until black SUVs rolled into view, one after another, engines low and controlled, blocking the front of the garage in a perfect line. Doors opened in unison. Boots hit pavement. Still, Evelyn didn't turn. Not until the shadow crossed the concrete floor behind her. A voice, sharp and controlled, broke the silence. "Step away from the vehicle." She closed her eyes for a fraction of a second. Then opened them, calm as ever. Her hand moved again, faster now, more certain. "You're late," she said quietly, not even looking back. The voice behind her did not repeat the order. It did not need to. Authority filled the space like pressure before a storm. Evelyn's fingers stayed steady inside the engine, isolating the final connection, feeling the subtle vibration through the metal. Footsteps approached, measured, disciplined. Not local police. Not anything this town had ever seen. Ma'am, another voice said, lower this time, cautious. We need you to step back now. She tilted her head just slightly, listening past them, past the tension, back to the mechanism beneath her hand. The ticking had changed. Slower. Controlled. Waiting. That told her everything she needed to know. Evelyn gently eased the connector free, holding it between her fingers for a brief second before setting it aside like it was nothing more than a loose bolt. The sound stopped. Not faded. Stopped. Clean. Final. Only then did she straighten up. She wiped her hands on the rag, calm, unhurried, as if a line of black vehicles had not just sealed off her entire world. When she turned, the scene was exactly what she expected. 6 vehicles. All black. Engines still running. Doors open. Men and women in dark tactical jackets, no visible insignia, but their posture said everything. Trained. Focused. Watching her like she was the center of the operation. The one who had spoken first stood closest. Mid-40s, sharp eyes, posture that had not softened with time. He studied her the way people only study something they thought was gone. Evelyn Carter, he said, not asking. Not guessing. Stating. She met his gaze without any shift in expression. That is still my name, she replied. A flicker of something passed through the group. Recognition. Confirmation. The man stepped forward 1 pace. Not aggressive. Careful. Colonel Marcus Hale, he said. We have been looking for you. Evelyn glanced past him, toward the road, toward the edges of the moment. Her garage. Her space. Blocked off like it never belonged to her. A customer stood frozen near the counter, phone still in hand, eyes wide, trying to understand how his simple repair visit had turned into something else entirely. She looked back at the colonel. You found me, she said quietly. He nodded once. We tracked the signal. That device was not supposed to be here. Her eyes shifted briefly toward the car behind her. It was not, she said. And it is not active anymore. A pause settled between them. Not empty. Waited. Hale exhaled slowly, studying her hands, the grease, the calm. You disarmed it alone, he said. It was not disbelief. It was something closer to respect trying not to show itself too early. Evelyn shrugged slightly, the motion almost dismissive. It was simple. No one else spoke. Not one of the agents moved. The air held still, waiting for something to shift. Hale's voice lowered. That was a military-grade trigger system. Restricted build. No civilian training covers that. She met his eyes again, steady, unblinking. Good thing I am not a civilian then, she said. Silence fell hard after that. Not confusion. Not doubt. Just the sound of something being confirmed in real time. One of the agents behind him shifted slightly, almost unconsciously adjusting posture. Respect, forming before permission. Hale took another step closer, slower now. Raven 6, he said quietly. The name landed heavier than anything before it. Evelyn did not react outwardly. No flinch. No pride. Just a small breath, controlled. That call sign was retired, she said. So were you, he replied. A faint breeze moved through the open garage, carrying the scent of oil and warm metal. For a moment, everything felt suspended between two versions of reality. The one she had built here, and the one that had just arrived to take it back. Hale studied her one last time, then nodded, almost to himself. "We need you back," he said. Evelyn looked past him again, toward the quiet street, the life that had no idea what it had been sitting next to this whole time. Then she looked down at her hands. Still steady. Still the same. "No," she said softly. And for the first time since they arrived, the Colonel did not have an immediate answer. The word no did not echo, yet it carried further than anything else she had said. Colonel Hale studied her in silence, not surprised, not offended, just recalibrating. Around him, the team held position, though something subtle had shifted. Their stance was no longer containment. It was attention. "You do not understand," he said finally, voice controlled, measured. That device was not random. It was placed. Targeted. Evelyn leaned back against the workbench, arms relaxed at her sides, as if they were discussing a faulty transmission instead of something far more deliberate. "I figured that part out," she replied quietly. Hale watched her closely. "Then you know this does not end here." A brief pause. Not hesitation. Consideration. Evelyn glanced toward the car again, her eyes tracing the path she had just taken through its hidden system. "No," she said. "It does not." The customer near the counter finally found his voice, shaky, uncertain. What is going on?" No one answered him. Not even Evelyn. The moment had already moved beyond explanations that made sense to ordinary people. Hale stepped slightly to the side, giving her a clearer view of the vehicles outside. "We can secure this location," he said. "We can relocate you within the hour. Safe house, full coverage." Evelyn almost smiled. Not amusement. Recognition. "You always think in terms of extraction," she said. "Still do." His jaw tightened just enough to show he understood the implication. "Because it works." She shook her head once, slow. "It works for assets," she said. "Not for ghosts." That word lingered in the air. A few of the agents exchanged quick glances, subtle, controlled. Hale did not break eye contact. "You are not off the grid," he said. "Not anymore." Evelyn pushed off the bench, stepping forward just enough to close part of the distance between them. Not confrontational. Just present. "I was never off," she said. "You just stopped looking in the right places." That landed harder than anything before it. Hale exhaled slowly, absorbing it. Behind him, one of the agents adjusted a tablet, scanning, confirming, connecting details that had not lined up until now. "The signal we tracked," Hale said, shifting slightly, "it originated from this device. But it was also transmitting outward. Someone wanted a response." Evelyn nodded faintly. "Yes. From us," he added. "No," she corrected softly. "From me." Silence again. Deeper this time. The implication unfolded piece by piece. This was not just a threat. It was a message. Personal. Targeted. Hale's voice dropped. "Who knows you are here?" Evelyn did not answer right away. Her gaze drifted past him, beyond the vehicles, beyond the street, as if measuring distance in something other than miles. "Someone who should not," she said at last. Hale's expression hardened, not with anger, but with clarity. Then you are already involved, he said. Whether you accept it or not. Evelyn looked back at him, calm as ever. I never said I was not involved, she replied. A faint tension moved through the team, like a current. Not fear. Awareness. Hale took one more step closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. If they can reach you here, they can reach anyone around you. Her eyes flicked, just for a fraction of a second, toward the customer. Toward the street. Toward the life she had built in careful silence. That was the first crack. Small. Almost invisible. But real. Hale saw it. He did not press. We can help you control this, he said quietly. Evelyn inhaled slowly, steadying something deeper than breath. Her hands, still marked with grease, flexed once at her sides. Not nervous. Grounding. She looked at him again, and for the first time, there was something new behind her calm. Not fear. Not doubt. Decision forming. You do not control this, she said. You never did. Hale held her gaze. Then tell me who does. A beat passed. Then another. The air in the garage felt heavier now, like the moment before something irreversible. Evelyn's voice came low, steady, certain. The ones who taught me, she said. And this time, even the Colonel did not hide his reaction. Colonel Hale did not speak right away, which was rare for someone used to commanding rooms, but the name she implied did not belong to any unit currently active on his board, not any he was allowed to acknowledge, and that alone shifted the weight of the moment, because Evelyn Carter was not speculating, she was remembering, and that meant whatever had found her was not improvising. It was following a pattern older than the systems surrounding them. That program was shut down, Hale said. Carefully, choosing each word like it might trigger something unseen, Evelyn's expression did not change, but her eyes sharpened just slightly. No, she replied, calm, certain, it was buried. That distinction settled into the room like a truth no one wanted to confirm. Behind Hale, one of the agents stopped typing altogether, fingers hovering above the screen as if the data no longer mattered, because this was not about files anymore. It was about something that had never been fully erased. Only hidden well enough for people to pretend it was gone. Hale took a slow breath, recalculating. If they are active again, we would have seen movement, he said, but even as he spoke it sounded thinner than he intended. Evelyn tilted her head just a fraction. You did, she said, you just did not recognize it. That landed harder than any direct threat, because it meant the system had already been bypassed without resistance. Hale's gaze shifted briefly toward the disabled car, then back to her, connecting the line he had missed before. That device, he said quietly, was not just a signal. Evelyn nodded once. It was a test, she confirmed. A subtle ripple moved through the team again, this time sharper, more alert, not confusion but realization. Tests meant escalation, meant something bigger was already in motion. Hale stepped closer, lowering his voice instinctively. Testing what? He asked. Evelyn did not look away. Me, she said, simple, direct, no hesitation. The silence that followed stretched longer this time, heavier, because now the situation had a center, and it was not the agency, not the team, it was her. Hale studied her face, searching for doubt, for exaggeration, for anything that would make this smaller than it felt. He found none. Why you? He asked. Quieter now. Evelyn's eyes flickered for just a second. Not weakness, memory, because I left, she said. And that was the first time the past pushed through her calm in a way that could be Felt, not seen. Hale understood enough not to interrupt. She continued, voice steady again. People like that do not forget unfinished work. Outside, one of the SUV engines idled lower, the sound almost blending into the background. But it marked time, and time was starting to matter again. Hale straightened slightly, decision forming behind his eyes. Then this is no longer optional, he said. You are a target and an asset at the same time. Evelyn almost laughed, but it did not reach her. Voice, I was always both, she said. Hale exhaled slowly, accepting that much at least, then gestured subtly to his team. They did not move in, but they shifted position, forming a perimeter that now felt less like containment and more like protection, even if they would never say it that way. Hale looked back at her. We cannot let you stay here, he said, more direct now. Evelyn glanced around the garage, the tools, the half-finished work, the quiet life she had constructed piece by piece. None of it built for this moment, none of it designed to survive what was coming next. Her fingers brushed lightly against the edge of the workbench, grounding, thinking. Then she looked at Hale again, the decision in her eyes now complete. I am not leaving because you told me to, she said, calm but firm. I am leaving because they already know where I am. Hale held her gaze, then gave a single nod, not approval, acknowledgement. Then we move now, he said. Evelyn stepped past him without waiting, her pace steady, controlled, as if she had already accepted the shift before it was spoken. One of the agents opened the nearest SUV door, but she did not get in immediately. Instead she paused for half a second, looking back at the garage, not with regret, not with attachment, but with quiet closure. Then she turned away and stepped forward, and just like that, the mechanic from a small town disappeared, leaving behind something the entire team now understood they were not prepared to fully control. The SUV door shut with a soft, controlled thud, sealing out the small-town silence she had lived in for years, and for the first time since they arrived, Evelyn allowed herself to sit back, not relaxed, but still, her eyes already scanning reflections in the tinted glass, tracking movement without turning her head. Colonel Hale sat across from her, posture rigid, watching her the same way he had back in the garage. Like she was both the solution and the problem at the same time. We have a secure site 12 miles out, he said, voice low, steady. We will regroup there and assess next steps. Evelyn did not respond immediately, her gaze fixed on the passing road, familiar landmarks slipping by, each one a quiet reminder that the life she had built was already behind her. You are thinking too small, she said finally, her tone calm, almost distant. Hale's brow tightened slightly. Explain, he said. Evelyn shifted her attention to him, eyes sharp now, focused. If they wanted me gone, I would already be gone, she said. This was not elimination, it was contact. The words settled heavily, forcing a recalculation in real time. Hale leaned forward slightly. Contact requires a message, he replied. Evelyn gave a faint nod. Exactly, she said, then reached into the pocket of her work jacket, the same one she had worn in the garage, grease stains still marking the fabric. She pulled out a small object and placed it in her palm, something she had taken from the car without anyone noticing. Hale's eyes dropped to it instantly, a small metallic piece, no larger than a quarter, smooth, unmarked at first glance. You removed evidence, he said, not accusing, just stating. Evelyn met his gaze, unbothered. I removed the only part that mattered, she said. She turned it slightly, and as the light shifted, a faint engraving appeared, almost invisible unless you knew where to look. Hale's expression changed, not shock, something deeper, recognition mixed with something close to concern. That symbol, he said quietly. Evelyn nodded once. You see it now, she replied. Hale leaned back slowly, the vehicle continuing down the road, but inside, Everything had slowed, sharpened. We scrubbed this, he said, more to himself than to her. Years ago, Evelyn's voice stayed even. You scrubbed the files, she corrected, not the people. That distinction landed with weight, the kind that could not be dismissed. Hale's hand tightened slightly against his knee, controlled, measured. If they are reaching out, he said. Why now? Evelyn looked down at the small piece again, her thumb brushing over the engraving, not absent-minded, deliberate, like she was confirming something she already knew. Because something changed, she said. Hale held her gaze, waiting, and for a brief moment, the quiet mechanic was gone completely, replaced by someone who had seen patterns like this before, someone who understood what came next before it arrived. They do not resurface unless the board is already in motion, she continued, and when they test, it means they are measuring resistance. Hale exhaled slowly, absorbing each word, adjusting his understanding with every second. Resistance from you, he said. Evelyn shook her head slightly. Not just me, she replied. Anyone connected to what I was. The implication expanded the situation instantly. Beyond one garage, beyond one town, beyond one target, Hale turned his head slightly toward the front of the vehicle, issuing a quiet command to the driver. Change route, he said. We are not going to the original site. The driver nodded without question, the SUV veering slightly as it adjusted course. Evelyn watched the shift without comment, then looked back at Hale. Now you are thinking correctly, she said. No arrogance, just confirmation. Hale met her eyes again, this time with something different behind his gaze. Not authority, not control, but respect forming under pressure. Then you are going to tell me everything you know, he said. Evelyn leaned back slightly, her expression returning to that quiet calm that made everything she said feel heavier than it sounded. No, she said softly. Hale's jaw tightened just a fraction. No, he repeated. Evelyn's eyes did not move. I am going to show you, she said, and for the first time since the convoy left the garage, the direction of the entire operation shifted away from him and toward her. The SUV slowed as it turned off the main road, gravel crunching beneath the tires, the outside world growing quieter, more isolated, but inside the vehicle the tension sharpened instead of easing, because now the direction was no longer controlled by protocol, it was being pulled by something else entirely. Evelyn leaned slightly forward, eyes focused ahead, not on the road, but on the timing, the spacing, the way the convoy moved. Stop in 30 seconds, she said calmly. Hale frowned, glancing toward the driver. We are not at a secure location yet, he replied. Evelyn did not look at him. That is why we are stopping, she said, her voice steady, certain. The driver hesitated for a fraction of a second, then looked to Hale, who held Evelyn's gaze, measuring, calculating, then gave a short nod. Do it, he said. The vehicle began to slow, the rest of the convoy adjusting instantly, disciplined, precise. They came to a stop along a stretch of empty road, nothing but open land, and a faded service sign about half a mile ahead. No buildings, no cover, just space. Hale stepped out first, scanning, his team spreading out in a controlled perimeter, weapons low but ready. Evelyn exited the vehicle more slowly, her movements unhurried, like she had arrived exactly where she expected to be. She walked a few steps away from the SUV, then stopped, looking down at the asphalt, her eyes narrowing slightly. Hale approached her. Why here? He asked. Evelyn did not answer immediately. Instead she crouched down, brushing her fingers lightly across the surface of the road. Dust, heat, faint tire marks, nothing unusual to an untrained eye, but to her it was enough. They passed through here less than 10 minutes ago, she said quietly. Hale's expression tightened. You can tell that from this? He asked, not disbelief, but testing. Evelyn stood again, turning slightly to face him. "They want to see how fast you react," she said, ignoring the question, "and whether you follow or hesitate." Hale looked down the road, then back at her. "You are assuming they are still close," he said. Evelyn shook her head once. "I am not assuming," she replied. "I am counting." She lifted the small metallic piece from earlier, holding it between her fingers. "This is not just a marker," she continued, "it is a trigger for movement. Once activated, it sets a sequence." Hale's focus sharpened. "Sequence to what?" he asked. Evelyn turned her gaze toward the distant sign, her voice lowering slightly. "To the next point," she said. Hale followed her line of sight, the faded sign barely visible against the horizon. "Half a mile," he muttered. Evelyn nodded. "Give or take," she said. Hale raised a hand, signaling his team to hold position, then looked back at her. "If this is a trap," he said. Evelyn met his eyes, calm as ever. "It is not a trap," she replied. "It is an invitation." That word settled differently, heavier, more deliberate. Hale exhaled slowly, weighing options. The safe choice would be to call in support, lock down the area, proceed by the book, but nothing about this situation fit inside those lines anymore. He looked at her again, searching for any hesitation, any sign she was uncertain. There was none. "We move together," he said finally. Evelyn gave a small nod, already turning toward the road ahead. Her pace steady, controlled, the team adjusted instantly, forming around them, but even in formation, it was clear who was leading now. Step by step they moved toward the sign, the air growing still, the world narrowing to that single direction. As they approached, Evelyn slowed slightly, her eyes scanning the ground, the edges, the details others would miss. Then she stopped, just a few feet from the sign. Hale stepped up beside her. "What is it?" he asked. Evelyn did not look at him, her gaze fixed on something just beyond the sign, something placed with precision, waiting. "This is where they check if I remember," she said softly, and for the first time, there was something under her calm that even she could not fully hide, not fear, but something older, something tied to a past that was no longer staying buried. The air near the sign felt different, not colder, not warmer, just precise, like the space itself had been measured and adjusted for a purpose. Evelyn took one slow step forward, then stopped again, her eyes scanning the ground, the edges of the metal post, the faint shift in gravel that no one else would notice. Hale stayed beside her, silent now, watching, learning, because whatever this was, it belonged to her world, not his. "Do not move past me," she said quietly, not turning. Hale gave a subtle signal behind him. The team froze instantly, every motion cut off mid-step. Evelyn crouched slightly, her hand hovering just above the ground, not touching, feeling for something invisible. Then she shifted 2 inches to the left, then back, mapping it out in her mind. "They changed the spacing," she murmured, more to herself than anyone else. Hale leaned in slightly. "What does that mean?" he asked. Evelyn exhaled slowly, her focus narrowing. "It means they know I would remember the original pattern," she said, her voice calm but sharper now. "So they adjusted it to see if I noticed the difference." She reached into her jacket again, pulling out the small metallic piece, holding it low, aligning it with the ground in front of her, then rotating it slightly, her eyes tracking the alignment like she was solving a code that only existed for her. "This is not about access," she continued, "it is about identity." Hale's expression tightened. "You mean verification," he said. Evelyn gave a faint nod. "Exactly," she replied, then straightened slowly, her gaze lifting toward the sign, but not stopping there, something just beyond it, something placed with intention. "They left a path," she said, "but it is not for everyone." Hale glanced at his team, then back at her. "Then we do not all take it," he said. Evelyn turned her head slightly, meeting his eyes for the first time since they stopped. "No," she said. Only I do. That answer landed hard, immediate, but Hale did not argue. Not yet. You are not walking into something unknown alone, he said, firm. Controlled, Evelyn held his gaze, steady, unshaken. It is not unknown to me, she replied, then looked forward again, her posture shifting, subtle but clear, like something inside her had aligned with what was in front of her. This is how they trained us, she continued, controlled entry, pattern recognition, no second chances. Hale's jaw tightened slightly. And if you are wrong, he asked. Evelyn did not hesitate. Then I would not be standing here, she said, simple, direct, final. The silence that followed was not empty, it was acceptance forming under pressure. Hale exhaled slowly, then stepped back half a pace, not surrendering control, but acknowledging reality. You have 2 minutes, he said. Evelyn nodded once, already moving, her steps precise, each one placed exactly where it needed to be, not a fraction off, not a moment late. The team watched without speaking, without shifting, because even without understanding, they could feel it. This was not improvisation, this was memory, trained into muscle and instinct. Evelyn reached the sign, paused for half a second, then extended her hand, not to the obvious surface, but to a small, almost invisible indentation along the side, her fingers pressing lightly, holding, waiting. Nothing happened at first, just the sound of wind moving across open land, then a soft click, barely audible, but unmistakable. Evelyn's expression did not change. But something behind her eyes did, something that had been dormant, now awake. She stepped back slowly, turning just enough to face Hale again. They know I am here, she said quietly, and this time, there was no doubt in her voice, only certainty, and now they are watching how I respond. No one spoke after the click, not because they were unsure, but because something had shifted beyond language. Evelyn stood still for a moment, listening, not to sound, but to absence, to the way the environment settled after recognition. Then she stepped back once more, slow, deliberate, her eyes scanning the horizon again, not searching, confirming. They are not coming here, she said quietly. Hale's gaze sharpened. You are certain? He asked. Evelyn nodded faintly. If they wanted contact in person, we would already see movement, she replied. This is remote observation. Hale glanced at his team, then back at her, recalculating again. Then what was the purpose of this point? He asked. Evelyn lifted the small metallic piece again, holding it between her fingers, then gestured lightly toward the sign. This was the handshake, she said. Proof of identity, proof of capability. Hale's expression tightened slightly. So now they know it is you, he said. Evelyn met his eyes. Calm, steady. They already knew, she corrected. Now they know I am still operational. That distinction landed deeper, because it meant the situation had just escalated, not resolved. Hale exhaled slowly, then looked beyond her, toward the empty stretch of land. What happens next? He asked. Evelyn did not answer immediately. Instead she closed her hand around the metallic piece, her fingers tightening just enough to ground herself. Then she opened her palm again, revealing it, but something had changed, a faint line now visible across its surface, glowing only when it caught the light at a certain angle. Hale noticed instantly, his focus locking onto it. That was not there before, he said. Evelyn shook her head slightly. It was, she replied, just inactive. She rotated it again, and the line extended, forming a subtle pattern, not random, not decorative, something intentional. Hale leaned in closer. Coordinates, he said quietly. Evelyn gave a small nod. Next location, she confirmed. Hale straightened, tension building again. Distance, he asked. Evelyn glanced at it one more time, then toward the horizon, calculating quickly. Roughly 8 miles, she said. Hale turned to his team immediately, issuing quiet commands, the formation shifting again, preparing to move. But before he could step away, Evelyn spoke again, her voice calm but firm. "Do not rush," she said. Hale paused, turning back to her. "We do not have the luxury of delay," he replied. Evelyn met his gaze, unshaken. "This is not about speed," she said. "It is about response." Hale frowned slightly. "Explain," he said. Evelyn gestured lightly with the metallic piece. "Every move we make is being measured," she said. "Timing, spacing, decisions, they are building a profile." Hale's expression hardened. "Then we limit exposure," he said. Evelyn shook her head once. "You cannot limit something you do not control," she replied, then stepped past him, moving back toward the SUV, her pace steady, purposeful. "The only way through this is forward," she added. Hale watched her for a brief moment, then followed, because even if he did not like it, he understood it now. The team reformed around them, doors opening, engines adjusting, the convoy preparing to move again. But this time the energy was different, sharper, more focused, not just a response unit anymore, but something being drawn into a larger pattern. Evelyn paused at the door before getting in, her eyes lifting once more to the empty land behind them, then forward, toward what came next, her voice low, almost to herself. "They are not testing if I remember," she said, then looked at Hale, her expression steady, certain. "They are testing if I am still willing to follow." And with that, she stepped into the vehicle, knowing the next move would define everything that came after. The convoy moved again, engines low, controlled, cutting across the empty stretch of land as if following a path no one else could see. Inside the SUV, Evelyn sat still, the small metallic piece resting in her palm, the faint lines now fully visible, forming coordinates that no system had transmitted, no satellite had tracked. Only her. Hale watched her in silence for a moment before speaking. 8 miles is not far," he said, "but it is far enough to choose the ground." Evelyn nodded slightly, her eyes fixed ahead. "It is not about distance," she replied. "It is about intent." The vehicle slowed as they approached a narrow access road, barely visible, overgrown at the edges, something most drivers would pass without a second glance. But not this time, not today. "Turn here," she said quietly. The driver obeyed without hesitation, the convoy adjusting again, moving into a tighter formation. The road narrowed further, trees beginning to close in, the light shifting as shadows stretched across the windshield. Then, suddenly, it opened, a clearing, small, precise, like it had been chosen for visibility and control. The vehicles came to a stop, engines idling, no movement for a second. Then Hale stepped out, scanning, but this time his posture was different, less commanding, more observant. Evelyn exited slowly, her eyes already moving across the clearing, mapping it, understanding it. Then she stopped, not at the center, but slightly off to the side, as if aligning herself with something unseen. Hale approached. "This is it," he said, not asking. Evelyn gave a faint nod. "Yes," she replied, then lifted the metallic piece once more, holding it up, the faint lines catching the light again, and this time, something responded, not with sound, not with motion, but with presence, a subtle shift in the air, like something acknowledging completion. Hale felt it too, even if he could not explain it. "Where are they?" he asked quietly. Evelyn lowered her hand, her expression calm, almost distant. "They were never coming," she said. Hale frowned slightly. "Then what is this?" he asked. Evelyn looked at him, and for the first time, there was something almost human behind her calm, not softness, but truth. "This is the end of the test," she said. Hale's gaze sharpened. "And the beginning of what?" he pressed. Evelyn glanced around the clearing one last time, then back at him. "The choice," she said. Hale held her gaze, waiting, understanding now that this was not about orders, not about Extraction, not about control, this was about something far older, something that did not answer to rank or command. Evelyn took a slow breath, then stepped forward once, just enough to mark the moment they wanted to. "Know if I would come back," she said quietly. Hale's voice lowered. "And will you?" he asked. Evelyn did not answer right away, her eyes drifting briefly toward the direction they had come from, the road, the town, the garage, the life she had left behind without warning, then forward again, toward something only she fully understood. "No," she said softly. Hale blinked once, not expecting that. "No," he repeated. Evelyn met his eyes, steady, certain. "I am not going back to what I was," she said, "but I am not walking away either." Hale studied her, realizing what that meant. "Then what are you doing?" he asked. Evelyn's expression settled into that quiet calm once more, the same one she had worn in the garage, the same one that had hidden everything in plain sight. "I am finishing it," she said, simple, final. Hale exhaled slowly, a faint nod following, not approval, not command, just respect. Because now he understood, this was never about bringing her back, it was about recognizing who she had become. Evelyn looked down at her hands for a brief second, then closed her fingers around the metallic piece, the faint lines fading once more into nothing. Then she slipped it into her pocket, turning slightly toward the open space ahead, her voice low, almost lost in the quiet. "Some things are not meant to stay buried," she said, and as the wind moved softly through the clearing, no one spoke, because in that silence, the truth was already clear. Respect does not arrive with noise, it arrives when everything else goes quiet.